Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, and it looks as though we are going to need a certificate to travel around the country safely from July onwards, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise. And a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, it appears we are going to have a certificate if we want to travel around the country this summer. As we can see here, Spain's communities to issue digital certificate for safe mobility from July onwards. The autonomous communities will be the health authorities that issue the digital green certificate, the health passport that will be a very important step in facilitating mobility safely and with confidence in Europe from July the 1st. This was stated by the Minister of Health, Carolina Darias, at the press conference following the meeting of the Interterritorial Council of the National Health System, in which she explained that her department will also issue this certificate in a complementary manner through Foreign Health. So, digital green certificates on the horizon as of July in order to allow people to move around Spain and Europe in a safe manner. And it will be the autonomous communities here in Spain, the 17 autonomous communities who issue this certificate, but the central government is going to issue a certificate also. Now, the AstraZeneca vaccine is back in the headlines today. As we know, the government took a long time to decide what to do with AstraZeneca. They weren't sure whether to inject people with the second dose of AstraZeneca or another vaccine, and they decided last week to allow people to have the choice of either AstraZeneca or Pfizer when it comes to their second vaccination. But the Spanish population are letting the government know what they think about AstraZeneca, and apparently 90% of people, when given the choice between AstraZeneca or Pfizer, are choosing AstraZeneca. As we can see here, 9 out of 10 under 60s return to AstraZeneca in Andalusia, Murcia and Galicia. In the Basque Country, they are now vaccinating people under 60 who received the first dose from AstraZeneca against COVID-19. They have no data, but the majority of people in this situation, whether in Andalusia, Murcia or Galicia, more than 90%, prefer to repeat with this vaccine. In order to be able to be vaccinated with AstraZeneca again, they are required to sign an informed consent of adverse effects. This was agreed at the Interterritorial Health Committee. Galicia has already announced that it will recommend, despite the agreement, to continue with AstraZeneca, although both they and Madrid will also have to sign the consent form if Pfizer is chosen. So 9 out of 10 people in those autonomous communities that we just saw putting their faith in AstraZeneca. Now, keeping on the subject of AstraZeneca and the lawsuit that Brussels has with that company at the moment, we can see here that Brussels is to charge AstraZeneca €10 per day of delay in each dose. The European Union will demand compensation from AstraZeneca of €10 per dose per day of delay from July the 1st, an amount that could reach €200 million per day. The Commission and EU member states' defence in the lawsuit against the Anglo-Swedish drug maker said on Wednesday. Brussels will also seek a penalty of at least €10 million from the laboratory distributing the Oxford University-developed COVID-19 vaccine. Lawyer Rafael Jefferali, who represents the European Commission and EU member states, told the French-speaking court of first instance in Brussels. So Brussels, as we saw there, quite aggressive in their lawsuit against the company AstraZeneca and asking for compensation that could reach up to €200 million a day. Now, as we know, a lot of the COVID-19 restrictions that we had in place earlier in the year have disappeared. No restrictions on mobility is one of the key things that we have at the moment, and also people are allowed to celebrate weddings, communions and other mass events. And the Andalusian government is blaming weddings, baptisms and communions for a spike in coronavirus cases. The Junta de Andalusia considers that the increase in the number of cases of coronavirus in Andalusia is due to the lifting of the perimeter closure, but also because of the celebration of ceremonies such as weddings, baptisms and communions. It is considered that the health measures are being neglected at these events and that they are sources of contagion. So weddings, baptisms and communions being blamed for a spike in cases in Andalusia. And I don't know about you, but 2021 so far feels like a carbon copy of 2020 because these exact same problems occurred last year. But as we know, the autonomous communities here in Spain are now prioritising the economy over the health situation. And as we can see from this headline here, Madrid will allow bars and restaurants to stay open now until 1 a.m. From next week, the Community of Madrid will allow restaurants to open until 1 a.m. and will increase the number of diners from 4 to 6 inside and from 6 to 8 outside. In the hotel and catering sector, the capacity inside these premises will remain as it was, that is 50%, including banqueting halls. Outside seating capacity will be maintained at 75%, and closing times will be extended to 1 a.m. And I think that's also something that is now happening in the Valencian community. Opening times of bars and restaurants have been pushed back to 1 a.m. as well as the curfew in that autonomous community. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain. The accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days now sitting at 126. There are currently 5,100 COVID patients hospitalized around the country, and there are 1,489 COVID patients in ICUs. And if we compare autonomous communities for the worst health data and the best health data, we can see that the Basque Country has the highest accumulated incidence rate in Spain, with 207 cases per 100,000 people over the last 14 days. And the Valencian community has the best health situation here in Spain, with an accumulated incidence rate of 30. The vaccination campaign now, we can see that 17.77% of the population have completed their vaccinations, and 36.22% of the population have received at least one dose. Now, a list of the richest and poorest cities here in Spain was published yesterday, and Pozuelo de Alarcón is the city with the highest income, lowest unemployment, and longest life expectancy in Spain. Pozuelo de Alarcón in Madrid is the Spanish city with the highest income per inhabitant, reaching 28,326 euros, as well as the lowest unemployment rate and the highest life expectancy, according to the urban indicators compiled by the National Institute of Statistics to evaluate the quality of life of the main cities in Spain, which also reveal that 9 of the 10 cities with the highest income and highest life expectancy are located in the provinces of Madrid and Barcelona, while up to 4 municipalities in the Basque Country are among those with the lowest unemployment. And if we have a look at the 10 municipalities with the highest income per capita, we can see Pozuelo there on top, followed by one of its next door neighbours, Boadilla, and we can see that places in Madrid occupy 7 of the top 10. When it comes to the other end of the scale, we can see that the municipality of Níjar in Almería has the lowest income per capita in Spain, and we can see that 8 of the top 10 cities on this list are found in Andalusia. So huge differences there in income according to where you live here in Spain. 9 out of the 10 richest areas here in Spain are found either in Madrid or Barcelona, and 8 out of the 10 poorest areas here in Spain are found in Andalusia. So a tale of two Spains when it comes to incomes. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Il Buzzo: I feel so good to live in a country where public transport is basically perfect so that I don't need to have a useless and expensive car. Il Buzzo, thanks for the comment. I think from reading previous comments of yours, you live in Germany, and as you say, in your opinion, public transport is basically perfect in that country. In Spain, that is not the case. Public transport is not perfect in this country. It's pretty good in cities like Madrid and Barcelona. Bilbao also has good public transport, but in some of the other cities around the country, public transport is not very good, and that is why people need to have a car. For example, where I am here, 20 kilometers from the center of Madrid, public transport exists, but it is very slow, and I would say that the majority of people that live here use their car to get into the city or to go to work every day. So here it's useful to have a car, but it is expensive. One here from Jane: we're trying to get there. We have a flight next Friday. Plenty of people are having their flights cancelled. Insurance is a big issue, as invalid in amber regions. Yeah, Jane, thanks for the comment. I mentioned in yesterday's video that a few people that are trying to get to Spain are having their flights cancelled at the moment. I read various comments from people that said that that is the issue that they have, and of course that's what you're mentioning there. And insurance for many is a stumbling block. If insurance companies are not willing to insure people coming to amber countries, then it does add to the list of problems to get to a country like Spain, and that's why people are choosing to go to Portugal this year, I imagine. But good luck for your flight on Friday, and I hope that you get here. One here from Pual Poco: from my point of view as a Brit living in Spain, Spain has been fairly accommodating to Brits who were here legally. The Midlands airport thing sounds like it was a COVID-based issue, not Brexit. At the time, practically any travel to Spain was limited to EU residents, including Spain. So if you were coming for literally anything other than returning home, you weren't going to fly. The COVID element of restrictions is now over. Travel is back to the new new normal. Things aren't so easy going for Brits now, but in general, if you are coming for less than 90 days, not much has changed for now. However, beware the carta de invitación, it might be coming. Yep, well, thanks for the comment. That's something that I also mentioned yesterday, that some people last Friday, I think, had problems coming to Spain from East Midlands Airport. Apparently they were turned away from their flight, and I think it was because they didn't meet the criteria at that time to travel to Spain, which was that you needed to be a resident of the country or a citizen of Spain, and apparently the people that were trying to catch that flight were not. And I suppose it was due to the fact that they were confused, because there were various messages, various press pieces saying that people would be allowed to travel to Spain freely as of the 20th. The tourism minister here in Spain said something like that along those lines, and of course that was picked up by the press, but that was not the case. Everything changed. It was the 24th, so people obviously booked those flights thinking that it was the 20th. But now, as you say in the comment, there are no restrictions and people should be able to board those planes in the UK without any hassles. And the other thing you mentioned there, the carta de invitación, the invitation letter, there's another comment also talking about that, so we'll have a look at that one. From Wayne, he says, "Hi Stuart, thanks for your great show. What do you know about the carta de invitación needed for guests from the UK?" So thanks Wayne for the comment and also for bringing this topic up. We saw in the first comment, beware the carta de invitación might be coming. Well, the fact of the matter is that the carta de invitación is already here, and it is apparently a legal requirement if people are going to stay at your home here in Spain for up to 90 days. If they're going to go to a hotel, there's no problem, but if they're going to stay with you at your home, if you're going to put them up, then you need to have this letter legally. Now, I'm going to be honest, I had never heard of this carta de invitación. My parents have come to Spain on numerous occasions and I did not go through this process, but I looked into it and apparently you need to fill in a form and then hand it in to the national police, because they are the ones in charge of immigration here in Spain. From what I can gather, it doesn't appear to be a difficult process, but as I said, I don't know much about it, and until recently I had never heard of this carta. So if anybody in the community knows about this letter or has done the process before, please fill us in. One here from Brian. "Hi Stuart, with reference to ITV testing that you videoed Wednesday, where we live near Alicante, we have been told that if you arrive for your ITV and don't speak Spanish, you are liable to get kicked out of the centre, as you have to take the car through the procedure yourself with instructions from the examiner. Garages in our area offer to take your car for you, but require approximately €140 for the service. A good money spinner for them. Brian La Marina." Yeah, Brian, thanks for the comment. And as we saw yesterday, I had to go through that dreaded process of the ITV. And I'm going to tell you that last night I was absolutely exhausted. It was an experience that really sapped me of all my energy. I don't know why. It's not a very difficult process, but I think I was just nervous yesterday in case they didn't give me the sticker. And I imagine that going through this ITV process is something that you have to do in Spanish. I can't imagine ITV centres offering an English service around the country. Maybe in some areas they do, in places like Malaga, but in Alicante, with such a big foreign population living there, I'm surprised that at least one or two centres don't offer this service. And if you don't speak Spanish and there's no other way to get this thing done, then you're probably just going to have to fork out that €140. One here from Robert. "Where are the tourists? They are in Portugal, where you don't have to wear a face mask outside, providing you keep social distance. But in practice, if the police isn't around, nobody cares about masks." Yeah, Robert, thanks for the comment, and you're probably right. That is where all the tourists are this year. They're all heading to Portugal, because as we know, Portugal is on the green list, and as you said there, they are not so strict when it comes to mask wearing. Spain is a very strict country when it comes to wearing masks, indoors and outdoors. As I have mentioned on numerous occasions, I don't have a problem wearing a mask indoors, but when you are standing in the middle of the street and there's no one around and you have to wear a mask, it doesn't really make sense. So the Portuguese are a lot more sensible when it comes to wearing masks, in my opinion. And that was the same last year as well. The 2 months that I spent in Portugal in July and August last year, you didn't have to wear a mask outdoors, and it was a very relaxed atmosphere compared to Spain. And finally, one here from Makish. "I feel like tourism isn't all of a sudden going to have a rapid rise. I'm from the UK and I'm deciding to wait a little longer until extortionate amount you need to pay on testing goes away. The idea of paying extra just does not entice me at all." Yeah, Makish, thanks for the comment, and there have been lots of similar comments to yours from people saying that they don't want all of the extra costs associated to travelling to a country like Spain this year. As we know, Spain doesn't have any PCR test requirements, but you have to have them done when you get back to the UK, and the price is a little bit expensive, especially when you compare it to what some other countries around the world are charging for PCR tests. So somebody out there is making money. But as we have seen in recent times, Spain is confident that it will make the green list soon, so maybe that will take away some of those requirements. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.